welcome Dr. Ludo, PhD in Machine Learning Engineering from Loughborough University. 大家掌声欢迎 Let's give them a round of applause. Sky Dartmouth, former assisting professor in theoretical physics in PolyU. And Zhu, professor of Stacy, Master of Economics, Renmin University. George Lin, former Kickstarter APAC manager, founder of YG Consultancy. Hey, welcome everyone. So we have 3 mics, so you got to switch a little bit. So, okay, welcome everyone. And this panel is about, as we know, AI technology. So we want to talk more about AI technology on the consumer level and on the application level too. Because on the previous panel, on the Chinese panel, that people have been talking about more on the theoretical level. So first, tell us about yourself. What do you do, and what project you're doing right now that is related to AI technology?
Oh yeah, thank you very much, Richard, having us here. It seems impressive today. So right now, for the past more than half a year, I've been working on a predictive maintenance project, a predictive maintenance solution with AI, with machine learning. So predictive maintenance is, as opposed to preventive or irregular maintenance, is looking at conditions in our case machineries for factories and plants and aircraft and automotive. We use vibration sensors, so we are in the IoT industry 4.0, doing AIoT. So we look for anomalies from vibration. We listen to the sound of vibration and ultrasound. With AI, we can, and the database, we can detect new faults. Yeah, and we focus on giving a simple solution every time. Like, for example, if you are wondering if you should take an umbrella or not outside, and you look the weather and they give you a ton of charts, it's not helping you. So what we have done is a simple app for factory managers to understand very quickly what needs to be done next. And yes, this is not consumer level, this is actually industry, B2B, but this is what I'm doing right now, like a real AI for this problem, which is a huge market. In 2025, it will be a 37 trillion market value, estimated. But of course, they have done also a bit of consumer. Yeah.
Very interesting input. That's more B2B, as it's for industry, so as the IoT plus AI.
Yeah, as a scientist, I believe that when you do such projects successfully, then you can do consumer, people will feel comfortable, and you can also do more explorative things that I've also done before, such as neuromorphic circuits, neuromorphic chip, AI chip, which is a bit more like exploration and
Okay, that's more on the hardware level. What about you, Sky?
I'm doing research in quantum gravity. So that's about uniting relativity theory with quantum theory, and I do that since 2003 or 2005. And I've been calculating the age of the universe, for example, the initial temperature of the universe and the age of the universe. And also I've done research on gravity. I believe that gravity doesn't come from mass, but from the number of quarks. So, and I also have done research on consciousness, because consciousness is very important in quantum mechanics, because it's what causes the collapse of the wave function. And I believe it's also important in AI. Like, I think that what we're now doing, people are now doing, is IA, intelligent automation, as you also said before. So, and if somebody wants to do real AI or have least the least chance of achieving it, one would have to go for a at least partially quantum random system. And to my knowledge, my friend Ludwig is the only one who ever created something like that. Maybe there are others. Maybe probably there are others, but and I think that's something we should push for doing. So I'm also very focused on looking in which type of systems there could be morphic resonance patterns reappearing, or you have a chaotic system that's quantum random, and in what circumstances would there be meaning emerging, meaning contextuality? So that's very important, because I think that's how our brain works. When you see something, you get an input. For a computer, you get one input, you have one output. For the brain, one input corresponds to maybe 1,000 outputs. So consciousness chooses the right output, the one that's meaningful. If you would simulate the human brain in a computer, like atom for atom, I think if you just use the normal quantum probabilities, it would be a totally dysfunctioning brain. It wouldn't function. It would just die. Like in the computer simulation, it would die. And so I believe that consciousness works and intelligence works by manipulating quantum probabilities. So some materialists will think that this can't be, because you can't violate the laws of physics. But these are probability laws. Actually, when quantum mechanics emerged, everyone was confused, because the old way of thinking was that everything is predetermined by the equations of physics. But if you have only probabilities, well, some people say, oh, we have the probabilities must be strictly adhered to, but I mean, it's a probability. Like if somebody comes and finds you at the highway, say, you will be fined with 30% probability. What do you do with that? Is it a law then?
It's very, very interesting. We'll get into that a little bit later, because we want to know if that's real AI. So we're talking about, like, a lot of people are talking about IA at this time that we're going to mention about. So, what about you, Ken?
Hi, so yeah, I'm the co-founder of Space Seed. So what Space Seed is essentially, it's an incubator. We help a lot of startups to connect to different resources and even help them enter the market. I'm also a co-founder of another company called CrowdPop. It's a crowdfunding agency. So the two companies really relax on a lot of work. So yeah, so like for crowdfunding, we haven't really worked with any companies that has AI background before, but we are looking for this is definitely like an industry that would be very interesting, because that's from a lot of the data on the crowdfunding side is definitely something that people are interested as well. So yeah, that would be like the next product we're looking for both Spacey and CrowdPop.
That's cool, because what Ludo is doing is on the hardware level and theory, and then on consumer level. So about consumer products, and that's also one of our topics today. So about you, George?
So I'm very much on the consumer level too. So like Ken, I work in the crowdfunding industry. I used to be the Asia manager for Kickstarter, which is the world's biggest crowdfunding platform. And right now I also have my own crowdfunding agency working with mainly Chinese innovators and startups who are bringing their brands and products overseas. So we see quite a bit of AI used as kind of like a marketing term. I think AI is definitely like a hot word right now. Even if people don't really understand it on a consumer level, it's great to just like throw around to say that the thing you're making is really advanced and therefore you should buy it. And I think like that's the main level in which sort of I interact with AI in my business right now. So it's interesting. It's interesting to disseminate like what is marketing and what is actual technology.
Have you ever worked with any AI products or AI project before?
Yeah, but it's so controversial, right? Because my clients will say yes, it's AI. People on this panel will say, well, maybe not. But for example, right now we're working with a new headphone set that what they do is a lot of people have some kind of hearing loss in their ears, and actually everyone hears sounds differently. It's like taste, basically. Things taste different to everyone, and things sound different to everyone. And so these headphones, before you use them, you do a hearing test on the app, and then they have a proprietary algorithm on their server that uses AI to determine what is the best hearing profile for you as a result of that hearing test, and then it kind of changes the sound from your music, for example, to best match your ears. So that's a product we're working on right now. It's AI branded. Whether or not it is true AI, is to be discussed. But I think that's a really good example of, at least when you tell people these are AI headphones that help you hear better, it just makes a lot of sense to people. Versus when you explain, well, actually it's just like an algorithm and it's like some machine learning. That's not a way to sell things. So we just say AI headphones, really great, buy it.
Well, machine learning, visual recognition, and voice recognition, they're all part of AI. So we want to get into that a little bit more. But Ken, are you looking forward to working with any AI products, or have you ever worked with? Well, you have not, but
Yeah, it's true. What people are looking for in the West and what people are making in the East, it's very different. Like the field they're focusing. For example, the top 5 most funded AI product, Kickstarter. The first 2 are earphone product. It's help you exercise. It's personal AI trainer earphone, and then there's alarm clock. It's something more lifestyle related. But in China, a lot of AI products, facial recognition, is something that it's a hard sell in the West. So that a lot of people they really value their privacy. It's something they even got debate in the States that whether police use facial recognition, they feel that violate their privacy. So we are really working with a lot of Chinese clients here, but it's hard to find something that can really suit the Western market. So this we are still trying to it's quite different. So it's also quite interesting. Yes.
that's very interesting on the consumer level. Sky, what do you think of the current development progress of AI right now?
What he just said, I would like to comment that I think there's a lot of spying going on in the West anyway, so I don't think that verdict is justified. I mean, it's the same, it's just more open. Chinese spying is just more open. Yeah, it's the same in the West.
But you're doing more, because you're developing AI right now.
Yeah. So you are right that I've been involved in hardware, software, a mix of both, what we call wetware. And I think it's so I did my PhD in this topic, neuromorphic chip, neuromorphic circuit. So it's basically a chip that can reprogram itself. And recently there have been a lot of interest. You have Tsinghua University with other universities have developed the Tianjin neural circuits. You have IBM has done one. You have Intel, which have done the Loihi chip. And actually, you have Michael Eagleton here in the audience, who nicely supporters of this idea. I think we should maybe create a new community about this fabulous topic. It's a chip component. It's very fascinating what's going on inside, and as it is small and compact, you can obviously have it in consumer products. And the last thing about this last thing, I think Sky had a look about this, is that AI is many 2 branches. Is machine learning, deep learning. That's what's going on a lot, and it's very algorithmic based. You need the machine learning algorithms. But on the other, there is another branch which is actually this kind of thing, neuromorphic circuits, which is less, as I think Sky was saying, less algorithmic. But what is interesting is to have both together on the chip, those 2 worlds. Now people are very familiar with machine learning, deep learning, TensorFlow, and so on, the tools, and they can go on those kind of chips together with a non-algorithmic part, which is more like a neuron, like a brain style.
Yeah. I want to ask Guy about
and,
more.
And there are applications.
Yeah. I want to ask Guy more about it because you said about neurology. So that's actually part of AI, not the IA part, or not the algorithm part. Do you have any comment on that?
Yeah, in general, if you want to use your conscience to influence something in the physical world, your chance are very low. It's just 51%. You just have 51% chance. But that's only for the outside world. In your brain, you have basically full control. So, but people who design chips, if you tell them to make a quantum random, they will say, okay, there's parapsychology and there's this small influence functions on random events, but oh, this is too small. So that this is only talking about influencing something outside your brain. That's a very minute influence. I think if it's the system itself, which is quantum random, you could have some meaning emerging in it, and you don't necessarily need it to be conscious in order for it to develop this contextuality and meaningfulness. I don't think it would be easy to create something that's truly conscious. But the other aspect is also that if you created such I call it quantum oracle, if you created it, you wouldn't be quite sure if the meaning that's emerging it comes from itself or does it come from the observer around it. Because at the end, all wave functions collapse in the brain of observers, in the brains of observers. So yeah, but at the end, everything we observe around us, all these wave functions collapse here. So what influence do we have on it? There's a lot of background noise and there's morphic resonance happening in that. I also analyzed how morphic resonance, how contextuality morphic resonance works in the non-biological world, in the universe in general. So how the wave function of the universe collapses and how that's also kind of non-computational.
Will that help you at all, like for your neurology?
Yeah, that's really, really helpful. He is a guy who knows, because I do mistakes in quantum physics, in quantum mechanics. He's a guy who will say, oh, you need this additional
Because it's
device.
not algorithm. You're doing more about algorithm.
I do algorithm and also interested in the non-algorithmic part. And again, I think it's really time to start a neuromorphic community. In Shenzhen, I'm thinking of the makers community, the makers. Chips now are accessible to FPGA, for example. There are kind of chips which are actually inexpensive, and even kids can play with this. And there is a lot from an education perspective. It's a fabulous new world. Like a new kind of platform. So for example, Intel, they have done their LOE. You can go on the website, Neuromorphic Intel, and you will see they have paused their project. They don't find any application, but one application in this kind of thing is maybe to use it as a platform for exploration, for education, for both machine learning and also more the non-algorithmic quantum side. And maybe 10 years from now, you will have in consumer products made by your kids, made by our kids.
Very, very interesting. Let's move on to the next question, because we would like to know more about, because you are all from like outside China, or you have been living in China for quite a long time. So I want to ask you about like if you find the research or R&D side of any like technology, or especially AI, that has any difference between Western countries and China, if China does anything different to the Western world, or do you have any comment on that?
Sure. So I think when it comes to the application, obviously in China, because the perception of privacy is different, execution is very immediate. So when it comes to new products like security cameras or voice assistants, things like that, in the West, when you develop a product like that, you will get all these barriers thrown up, right? All these questions around ethics and GDPR, the data privacy protection law in Europe, and there's all these ifs and buts, and it becomes really difficult to put something out into the field for research onto these consumer electronics. Whereas in China, that barrier isn't there so much. So I think there's a lot more experimentation in the field and in the market. And I think, obviously I'm not a researcher. These guys always make me feel so incredibly stupid when I hear them talk like, we just sell headphones. And these guys are like talking about the start of the universe. But that's the side that I work on, and so definitely here you see as soon as something gets developed and it works, it's out into the market, whereas in the West, there's a lot holding you back before you can actually give something to consumers.
Yeah, so pretty much what George said, yes, going back to crowdfunding, it's like the product like you see on like JD crowdfunding or Taobao crowdfunding. It's very different when you put in artificial intelligence, like the product that come out. Like I was saying before, like there's like the top five, it's like there's two headphones, one alarm clock, this one GPS, like for your car. But in China, it's like a lot of like security camera, it's like smart lock, and it's not like one garbage, like smart garbage that can tell you like what's like wet garbage or dry garbage. It was a huge issue like in Shanghai when the new laws implemented. So you can see like the direction that in the east and west is taking like very different route. So yeah.
Do you mean for AI products that maybe in the Western world that people were willing to buy more of the AI products, but here in China, maybe not?
No, I feel like they are. It's still like both like under the AI category, I guess. But it's like the different direction. One's more like for I guess like for West, like people are more. Do they know like with fitness product with like earphone with this kind of stuff? Like people will be more willing to spend their money on. They will have more concern when it comes to security camera. But there has been a lot of issue with hacker hacking into a different security camera, and like AI is. Could also mean like a lot of potential like danger, like for a hacker to hack in. So yeah, it's.
Sorry, just one thing. I think there's like a really weird thing in the West where it's almost like unconscious racism towards China, where it's like when you have a smart doorbell, for example, that has a camera and it has the AI or facial recognition feature. You have a brand in the US that's called Ring. I think it was acquired by Amazon. Now, when a Ring camera detects a face and it records some data, that data goes to a data center somewhere. In the case of a Western product, you don't really know which data center. It could be a data center in Sweden, Norway, the US, Antarctica, you don't know. All different laws and jurisdictions apply to all those different data centers. And so actually it's really, really hard to understand how your data is used, where it's being stored, which laws apply to it. Whereas when you have a camera in China, the data is stored in China, and Chinese law applies to it. And it's very simple. It's actually much more simple to understand what happens with your data in China than what happens with a Western product because it's such a heavily fragmented market. Yet, for some reason, consumers feel like, oh, but if it's in China, that might be a little bit dangerous. Because what if the Chinese government sees my delivery man in Arizona with my package? That's awkward. And so it's completely unfounded. It's just completely emotional, I guess. And so I see a lot of consumers reacting from a purely emotional state where it's like, oh, if it's in China, that's icky. But if it's in Antarctica, that's absolutely fine. So, and I think that's really difficult for a lot of Chinese brands. Like, how do you reason with people who are being completely unreasonable in the way they look at things?
Oversensitive.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, that might not happen about what they have shared. That concern you at all, especially when you're doing the neuromorphic chips. That concern you to maybe there's hackers who are hacking to the information that your chip actually collects, or.
Yeah, there is always this concern, but I have started to develop this. I was actually the pioneer, starting to develop this at the beginning of my PhD in the UK. It was in the UK. With a supervisor, we decided to create this new area of research. And it's been a very long time since then. Now, as I said, several companies, both West and East, have created their own real chip. It takes a big lab to make this kind of chip, but now it's a reality. And yes, there are privacy concerns, but as I think I said already, it's still at a very research level. I told you one of the company have paused, they are not willing to sell it at all. So yeah, I think also to today it would be nice that everybody understands there are many levels, many notches of artificial intelligence, so to speak. So, for example, when I got my first keyboard synthesizer, it was written intelligence on it, not even AI or something, but intelligence. And what it means actually is that, you know, when you play piano on the left hand, you are supposed to do a chord, and it's usually with 3 fingers, and then you play a melody with your right hand. But intelligence means you can play only the fundamental with only 1 finger on your left hand, and according to the melody you play, it will find out or adapt and create the right chord on the left hand intelligently. But what level of AI do you think this is? Do you think this is what people are trying to say, real AI or general intelligence, human intelligence? No, it's a certain level of it.
It's more.
And at Philips, I did a project which, at the end of it, I found out it was what I did was actually an expert system, and an expert system, it's within the branch of AI as well, and it's a series of if-then rules, but very complicated. You need a mathematical model and implement it, code it. But this is also AI, and the goal of this big software for chips, for testing the chips, was to minimize the time of testing the chip, to minimize the computational time to create automatically a design of chip, and also to minimize the testing time. So the 3 constraints at once, and the surface area that the testing circuit will occupy. Those 3 constraints at once. In the EDA, the Electronic Design Automation community, where we do chips, there are millions and hundreds of millions of transistors in a very little surface. You cannot possibly have any people, even a large number of people, hardwiring all those transistors. You have to have automated software, like CAD for mechanical parts components, but this is for transistor on chip. You need to have very intelligent software. And this is a kind of AI. This is the kind of thing I developed for Philips. This is a higher level of AI than the previous example that I've given. And then you can go on and on like this. You can make it more adaptive, more autonomous, and then everyone should think that, oh, it's AI. Is it a small AI? Is it a narrow AI? Or is it a big, very clever AI with many features? Maybe like Alexa or the Xiaomi one. I just got one. The Xiaomi one, I don't know. His name is and he replied and played the music. So this is quite a high level with speech recognition. So we have AI, and we have a very low adaptivity. Maybe in your car, your automatic brakes, or they know when it shouldn't completely blow the wheel. It's a kind of AI, but very, very low, maybe. And you have many, many levels.
That's very
until maybe the neuromorphic chip, which is like a cutting edge.
That's very similar to the point that on the previous panel, John Wang has mentioned. He's also in the hardware and also chip industry. So maybe you can talk to him more about that. And also, I want to hear you talk about a little bit about the difference of research, because you have been in Hong Kong for quite a long time, and also you have been in Germany. So do you have any input on that question about the difference between the China and the Western world?
Not on that particular, but just now we have mentioned the privacy issue, and in my opinion, AI helps actually to fight corruption. And if you have AI on many levels, like even government, it helps to have collective governance and these things. So once we have that, we won't be concerned very much about privacy, because the more AI you have, the less danger is, the less you have to fear the state, the governments. Yeah.
Okay. I think about research, like study in the university, like.
Yeah, I had some collaboration with Ludovic also. He actually he had the initial idea to make a machine, a device to measure if something has consciousness or not. So that would be the first device which would be able to measure when and where the collapse of the wave function happens. So it's a quantum razor experiment, and it's about measuring for how long after you have two photons, entangled photons, and it's about measuring for how long after the first photon is detected you can still do the restore the witch path information. This is a bit complicated, but it would be able to measure consciousness. And a second thing was he helped to prove that my theory on how the universe expands is accurate, as him to compare graphs.
Yeah, we double check the math and the graph.
Good. Now you're in Shenzhen, so we're looking for more of your research and also your collaboration to the industry here in Shenzhen. So, yeah, talking about AI, we also talk about the concerns and also the privacy. So, we want to know a little bit more about the impact on the society and also on people, like how AI might have an impact. Well, no matter is algorithm or is IA or is more on the deeper level, like what impact might AI have on people or the society, let's say in the next decade, 10 years?
I have a really sort of controversial idea about it. I think it's absolutely nothing. And when I say absolutely nothing, obviously I don't mean it will do nothing, but it will be very predictable in the way that, for example, electricity or the internet have brought along change in our society. Of course, we've seen large changes in our society when internet came, or when IoT came, or when cellular technology came. But I think these so quickly become these fundamental technologies. Like you say, they're in your smart devices. It's already in your car. It's already here. It's already so universal as electricity, almost. Like there's not a device I think that we have from your smartwatch to your phone to potentially some sound system here in this room that uses some form of AI. So when people say, oh my God, the world is going to change, AI robots are going to take over, everything's going to be different, I think, well, it's probably going to have some changes and probably for the better, but just like, the internet changed a lot, but at the end of the day, we all still sleep roughly 8 hours a night, we all still have to eat 3 meals a day, and I don't think that, I think there's like this science fiction side to AI where it's going to change everything so fundamentally that probably in 10 years time, it's going to be like, oh wow, my computer is like super efficient and my PowerPoints look much better because the AI like freshens the whole thing up, or translations have become that much better, but you still go to bed at the end of the day.
So happy to hear what real smart people have to say about this.
I just want to say that I'm very disappointed about the development of the internet, because the original idea of the internet in Silicon Valley was that it's a tool of collective governance. All of those founders of the internet, they had this idea that you can use the internet to make all decisions collectively. And if we use that, then nobody could ever complain about anything. Everybody would be happy. There would be no riots in France or anywhere else. I think the internet should have been used more wisely.
So you're meaning let's let's use AI wisely. Like we could use
AI combined with, so people's decisions combined with AI, because it's if you just ask people to govern a country, like all people together, it's very hard. It's very chaotic. But if you combine that with AI, maybe it would work. And recently, I've heard that in India they're replacing some of the politicians with AI.
Okay, so you mean that the internet should be used more wisely and also the AI?
Yeah, for example, in the West, we always talk about democracy, but it doesn't exist in the West. Actually, you're just voting representatives. So democracy comes from Greek, and there it meant that you vote on actual decisions. And that's a nice idea, but everybody say, oh, that was only possible in Athens in ancient Greece, and not possible today. But we have the internet, so it's actually possible. And it solves all you don't have any violence anymore. If everybody is responsible, then there's nobody you can complain to.
Social credit.
Yeah, I think, just to add to your point, I think like, weirdly enough, what went wrong with the internet and society is that it became an international thing. So I think what's really interesting about China's internet is that it's somewhat more isolated from the rest of the world. And so when you look at, for example, the US elections and Facebook, where basically the internet just opened the whole country and the whole government system up to anyone anywhere in the world that wanted to like harm them, they just, it imploded itself because it is so open. So I think like the very nature of the openness of the internet is also very much the danger of it, because anyone from anywhere without any accountability, just like Russian Dude 69 at hotmail.com can literally like break the democracy. And so I think what's interesting in China is that there's just sort of an alternative model where you say, well, what if we don't allow everyone and anything to just do anything completely unaccountable, but we actually just keep tabs on what's happening here in our country, in our society, and we do that sort of more responsibly. And I think the result is that, we don't have these massive riots and things overthrown by outside agents because there's more accountability. So without even saying if there's one better than the other, I'm always so interested in the fact that there's like Chinese internet and the rest of the world internet, and hopefully we can all kind of like look at both versions and learn from it.
Good. Ken, do you have any?
Just want to say that the reason why we can't have a global internet that covers the whole world is basically because there are these operatives. If they didn't exist, then everything would be free. Okay? So that's the root of the problem.
On the positive note, I think when you think about your smartphone, like I have one of those smartphones. When I play with it here, it will just open even without recognizing my face. That's a great feature. If I go away, it will even ask my PIN. So if it was somebody else taking it from me, so that's a new feature for the Pocket function. So the smartphone is full of more or less AI feature, and I actually kind of love my smartphone when I open it because I know it's going to do smart things for me, and I can think about doing my other things instead. And it is like a mini assistant. It's helpful. It is doing things in moving the ball forward for me rather than doing something against me that happened before. And you see more and more evolved features, more complicated features that are helpful as well. So that's to me that's kind of very good point for AI.
So being the smartphone will help people to better organize their agenda and also have something else in life. But what about other products? Ken, do you have any other products to share about like that AI can help people?
Yeah, sure. So I guess like it's not gonna be like bring great change, but it does like bring like small improvement to life, like to make everyone like a more convenient some like aspect of life. For example, like this one alarm clock on Kickstarter that raised close to $1 million. It's called Bonjour alarm clock. I don't know, but so it's like some of the feature that it has that is pretty interesting. Like it connects to like the weather app on your phone, like, weather station around the world, and then so we can like synchronize your calendar with this clock. And for example, if you go on a Sunday morning run every week, if this week the Sunday weather is bad, it's raining, and it will actually it won't wake you up. It won't the alarm won't sound like usual like on Sunday. It will actually let you sleep in because it knows that it's raining outside. You won't be able to go for a run. Or also it can also connect with a lot of different IoT devices around your house. For example, to your security camera, or to your smart doorbell. So if there's someone out there, it will actually sound alarm sound. So you make your life a little more convenient. The change is quite small, but I would say it doesn't help some people. But unfortunately, I think that project's kind of a scam. But it was necessarily funded back in 2016, but it never delivered. So hopefully in the next 10 years, such product will actually come out to help some of the lazy people do things easily.
So we're talking about next 10 years, so maybe that in the next 10 years that things will not change that a lot. But let's think more than that. What about next 50 years? What will AI really help the society and the humankind as a whole to really develop and to really live another life in the next 50 years? Do you have any?
Yeah, I think the medical sector, and especially in developing regions, will benefit a lot. For example, I met a guy in the Netherlands, a doctor, and he said that there's a very common spine disease amongst children that can be really easily treated if it's spotted early. Right now, it requires a trained doctor to just look at a child's back without the shirt on, and they can just basically see the posture being slightly off. And if the doctor sees that at around 8 years of age, they can just do some physiotherapy, and it will be fine. Left untreated, it can become a much more serious disease. And that doctor quite selflessly thought, you know what, if I can just spot it with my eyes, I've just seen thousands of these children, I can train an AI to see it for me. As accurate as I can, even if it's a little bit less accurate, if there's rural areas in the less developed world where an AI does it a little bit less accurate than a Western super expensive doctor, but at least you can see all these millions of children, and it can be prevented very early on. I think that's a huge opportunity.
And I think both of us have touched on the point, so that's why also I mentioned the millions of transistors on the chip, and here's a million of children to look.
Yeah.
So I think everybody now should put in the trash this idea that AI is taking jobs from people, because first of all, it's actually maybe going to help doing the job that nobody really wants to do.
There are no people for it.
Yeah, and also there are no people for moving the.
And also, even for example, in the U.S., when you look at the healthcare system is absolutely crumbling, and China will also have this problem of skill, right? There's so many people, and they all need to be seen for fairly simple medical diagnosis, for example. If AI can take over some of that burden, I think it will just be a huge relief on the tax system.
Yeah, and just to say, I think all of us will agree. I think so that this idea that the AI or automated system will take over jobs and we don't has been there for a long time, and I think that's been the main obstacle for many years for the progress against the progress of AI.
And I think also this being so scared, for example, of machines making mistakes. Again, maybe this sounds a little controversial, but I always think it's better to just see an AI that isn't as good as a doctor than seeing no doctor at all. So again, I feel like when you have these huge populations that need anything, but it's also in Shanghai with, like you said, Ken, earlier, the waste sorting, for example. I think even on Alipay, there's an AI kind of mini app where it can just determine for you if something should go in the right recycling bin. that's just a great advantage because who else is going to do it, right? There's not going to be a city council official standing next to every bin saying that's the wrong bottle and the wrong bin. But if people can do it themselves, we have better recycling, and it's great.
That also how this is happening. Yes, I want to ask Sky one question about the 50 years thing because you know 7 languages. Do you think that AI can help you help us in the next 50 years to actually break the language barrier?
Aside from physics research, I also do linguistics research and etymology. So that's the history of languages. And I have created a Chinese character-based script for German and English. And I also promote the Vietnamese script, the ancient script, which is with characters. So Google Translate has become very, very good, especially because I also have been working in translation a bit. So since last year, I think, since the beginning of last year, it has become extremely good. Before German to English or English to German is very good. So, but of course it's still a bit difficult and you need human translators. But for my syncization project, like for example, you take a Vietnamese text and you want to have it written in the traditional ancient Nom script. If you do it automatically, the computer can simply choose the most frequent ones. Like if it's a combination word, if it's Chinese word, like for example the word Shanghai, and so on, then the computer can recognize it, but then you have the single words, and for that you need some little bit of intelligence. So there you can use AI, and the task will be much, much simpler than the task of AI translation. So AI translations are that difficult, and what I need for the syncization is just it's difficult. It's not too difficult, and that's the thing to work on also.
Yeah, do you think that, I don't know if you've read the AI translation on the Chinese parents going on, does that really like work, or is that will that work better in the next 50 years, or is that one of your solutions to this, to translations?
My own solution is to not translate, but instead synthesize. So you have the characters, and you read according to the history, according to the historic connection. So if a German person says, wants to say switch off the light, you will say, mach das Licht aus, make the light out. So you don't translate it, you just let the American people, if they use Chinese, you let the American people just read it in their language. So they will read, make the light out. Oh, that's funny, what could that mean? Oh, it means to switch off the light. And close the door, mach die Tür zu. The American guy reads it as, make the door to. Make the door to? What the hell does it mean? It makes everything work.
What about Chinese?
So this will be more messy. Like if you use German or English to read Chinese, that's more. It actually, my system raises the mutual intelligibility, the mutual intelligibility between those closed languages, like all the languages in Europe. And it raises the mutual intelligibility between the Asian languages. But between Asia and Europe, there will be still pretty big difference. You know, Chinese always use these double words, which is a bit strange for Europeans.
Yeah. By the way, Sky knows Mandarin and Cantonese. You speak really good Mandarin and Cantonese. Ken, do you have any insight on the question?
No, it's very interesting on the translation part. Like that's also a huge crowdfunding. Like not only in Kickstarter, on Kickstarter, Indiegogo, or even the Taiwanese, Japanese crowdfunding site. Like everyone, like that's a huge problem. Like around the world, we always try to solve that problem to like have like free communication between different language. So that's definitely something like very interesting. I think like if AI could help solve that problem, that's like pretty much what everyone wants. Like that's a lot of project. In like recent year, like raised over $1 million US in like a month. That's pretty much like what everyone wants to solve.
Yeah, I mean in Vietnam, students they read ancient Chinese texts and they read them in their own language. Like Wu Dang is Mo Dang and so on. And I was on a conference in Hong Kong about international kanji conference on Chinese characters, and they were talking about how in ancient times people were sending letters to each other in classical Chinese, and they would read it totally different, but they could understand each other. And someone in the conference said, "Oh, what a pity that this doesn't exist in Europe." And I said, "No, it exists. I created it."
Do you think? I don't know. Do you think like this somehow like AI can learn to like interpret it into like as close as the original meaning in like other language somehow?
It's just about character choice. So I have a friend in Vietnam. He's doing this type of research too. He studies the Nom script, the Vietnamese script, and also the Thai script, which is Trong, so the Trong minority. Yeah. So he has also created software where you just put in a text and can convert into characters, but you have to manually correct some single monosyllabic words. And you would have to do that in German too, if you have the syntax German.
Yeah, that's another whole one.
But you need to do that with, but you need AI for that too, so you need some, yeah. But I don't know at which level you can call it AI. If it's so simple, is it AI?
Yeah, that's also something we are talking about today, and people are talking about for the past 2 years or maybe 5 years. So,
Actually, you remember you came to our experience center, and there are also in China there are like government and non-government like company experience centers like that. You can experience for yourself the different levels.
yeah,
Anyone can do that.
that's
The different level in one day, in actually several hours, you can just experiment. What did you try? The thing that tells you how beautiful you are.
Yeah, I tried it. Basically, it doesn't work. So it's very, very low AI. So,
And all sorts of things like those humanoid robots we have, and some robots can make the espresso for you. So these are different levels where you can go in an experience center of an AI company or AI government research institute. You can experience for yourself and see, oh, that's small AI, that's big AI, this thing is super clever, and things like that. So it's not only research, it's also nowadays you can
interact.
Yeah, you can interact with it.
Thank you. We are open for questions. Do you have any questions? Any questions?
There's one more thing I would like to say.
Okay, for that.
About the bit of the philosophy of AI. I think before AI existed and before computers existed, we already had something kind of similar with AI. I think the law is very similar to AI. With the law, you try to imitate morality. So people have in their mind this notion of morality, and they try to somehow automate the process of what is deemed moral and immoral. So they create all these rules, the law, and it has a lot of flaws. So in many situations, the law will create something that is just, but in many situations it's not. So you have to add a new law. And to think that AI is kind of intelligent or consciousness is just like saying the law is somehow intelligent or conscious. And I don't think that's the case, because for the law you always have to add new laws to come closer and closer to morality, and the same is for AI, to get closer and closer to efficiency.
Okay, good, good. So, anyone wants to raise any questions? Yeah.
I'm Hari. I'm from India. Thank you for the wonderful panel. Like till now we have discussed on the positive side of the coin, like what are the advantages of AI and neural networks, and what is the progress that is being shown to the world. I just wanted to flip the coin and take it to the other side. Like with the current development in technologies and AI, there are a lot of advancements which are growing in the world. Like this has a positive impact in leveraging life and making it like so easy for the humans in a lot of aspects. The same way, it's not related to tech, it's like related to morality. Like a lot of people are losing employment due to the AI and automation. And the same way, the people who are well educated and who knew about the technology, they are getting employed. How like the people any technology or any progress in life, we should be balanced, right? It should be moral to the people who are like unaware of the things and the people who are aware of the things. How do you compensate on the things, and what is the future scope that people who don't know any aspect regarding to this would cope up with this?
Yeah, so let's say you are at home and you have your electric plug, your main, and you know that you don't really want to put your fingers inside there. Yeah, that's electricity. So it's true for any tool we have. I have a presentation in which I can tell you this very quickly. I show something. I show, let's say, what is it called properly? Anyway, a nuclear head, yeah, explosion. So if it happens somewhere near the surface of the Earth, it's a catastrophic event. Yeah. If it happens far in the sky, maybe not so bad, but. And then there are some projects that you heard about going to Mars or things like that. So people have started to think that, first of all, if we want to revive the Mars planet, which is very cold, we need to bring a lot of carbon. you can see a whole documentary. Yeah. Sorry? Yeah. Yeah, but there is a story that some professor want to bring trash to Mars and even at some point provoke a nuclear head explosion there. Not near the surface because it would damage the planet. But then that would allegedly that would trigger the start of the revival of the planet. So whether this is not true or not, or correct or not, this can exemplify any tool can be used for bad things, but maybe also for other. Maybe another example, if this one is not true, is that you could use a nuclear head to deviate a meteorite coming to Earth dangerously. That's another salutary example of the use of a nuclear head. So AI is the same, as we have to keep an eye on it. I urge everybody. I don't believe in the open loop, which means you leave the AI do your things, and then maybe it will work somewhere. I don't believe in this. I think a lot of AI people have recognized you need a cross. It means you, me, everybody look at the thing happening, at least often enough. Yeah, that's we in terms of AI. In terms of AI, we closed system.
I just want to mention that Mars actually has 97% carbon dioxide, so it's actually the CO2 can actually warms the planet, but it's logarithmic. So every time you want to have the same increase in temperature, you need to double the CO2, which means there is no global warming caused by CO2. It doesn't work that way. And the reason why you look at Mars and it has so much CO2 and it's so cold, the highest temperature is just 0 degree. And then you have Venus, it's so hot, so they just blame everything, many people blame everything on greenhouse effect, but it just doesn't work. The reason why Venus is so hot is just because the atmosphere is thicker. So if you dig a hole in the ground and you go down, it will be hotter because the air pressure is higher, because there's more air above you.
Anyway, there are attempts to revive Mars, but anyway, trying to finish answering your question is a very, very good question. I believe it's down to us.
Yeah, the thing is like, I wanted to ask like, is there any particular end to AI or machine learning or the development in technology so that it do not overtake your human intelligence and it work on its own? And do you think that there is a particular end that it should stop here, or it is limited to this particular point that it should not excel?
That's a very tricky question. Do you believe there is a superior intelligence watching over all of us and making sure everything is synchronized well? Yeah, you know this. So I had a actually a nun that you also met, the one that was making jokes all the time, who, yeah, remember? So confess to me that just do your AI. Up there is taking care of everything. It's not up to you what's going to happen.
That's another big thing about AI, but we don't want to talk about it today because it's something very suspicious and very religious too. So we take another question. Do you have another question on the floor?
Here, because you mentioned about the artificial intelligence translation just then, and here are the two famous translation sentences. Time flies like an arrow. Fruit flies like a banana. 时间飞得像箭一样，我赢喜欢香蕉。See that? There will be no predefined or pre-written algorithms to make so-called artificial intelligence to understand what that means. That's the very dilemma we are confronting. I am confronting. I'm doing something related to the development of autonomous driving, of course, in terms of using artificial intelligence and robotics as basic. So we're facing a dilemma like if the machine is designed to not being able to understand human common sense, or say, contextualized world, the so-called autonomous driving would no way to be capable as we expected. Then we have to be lower from the artificial intelligence solution to lower to be automated driving solution. So that will make many of us disappointed, especially those who believe the technology do everything.
Question.
Yes. Dilemma. It's a dilemma. We're not doing this, but in the other way, if we are trying to develop the artificial intelligence to drive as a human driver in the car, so we have to put, like you said, Sky, put consciousness to the machine, which means we have to overcome the one-to-one mapping of the machinery mechanism, right? Through mistakes.
But
Yes.
thinking is not a mechanism. There's no way AI can replace a human. And this was proven in 1930 by Kurt Gödel, it was Einstein's best friend. It's called the incompleteness theorem. And according to this theorem, a formal system cannot be used to derive everything in mathematics. It's impossible. And it even cannot be used to prove everything that's formulatable inside the system. No formal system can be complete and without contradictions at the same time. And it will never be complete. No formal system can be complete. So before the 30s, the dream of all the mathematicians was to create a formal system which would be like a computer and which could automize everything in mathematics. Like you could have a computer running for eternity and spitting out all the mathematical proofs you can come up with so that all the mathematicians are unemployed. So in 1930, it was proven that that's totally impossible. Assuming such a formal system, which is like a computer program or an algorithm, to exist actually creates a contradiction. So if you assume that to exist, you can show that there's a contradiction. And that shows that our thinking cannot be based on an algorithm. So, and that's quite obvious. Imagine our thinking was based on an algorithm, and this algorithm, according to that viewpoint, must have emerged through natural selection in biology, through the human history. And if this enabled us to come up with something like Fermat's last sentence or Gödel's incompleteness theorem, all these things, if they had to develop through natural selection and mutation of DNA, it would be impossible because there's no benefit for those things to exist in our thinking. If we are programmed to discover these things, this type of program cannot emerge out of natural selection. Actually, it can be shown that if you apply natural selection to an algorithm, it will destroy the algorithm in 99.999% of the cases. It will just destroy it. So consciousness and thinking is something totally different from our computers. We should not think that our brain has anything to do with the computer, or that what we do with the AIs has anything to do with intelligence. It's just we program robots to pretend to be human. You know the Star Trek series, Star Trek Enterprise. You have Data, this robot, and he can think everything. He can do everything. He's super strong. He can solve any problem in very fastly, but he cannot feel. And he says, "Oh, I don't understand feelings." But now you have Sophia, this robot. She behaves like she can laugh, and she makes jokes, and she never pretends to not understand feelings. Oh, she never shows it. She's programmed to pretend she understands. She understands jokes or makes fun. You can program her to say anything you want. So it's very easy to fake feelings and very hard to fake intelligence. You can program any robot to fake feelings.
Talking about Sophia, the robot, I've been talking to Sophia on a Hong Kong event last year for like half an hour. And I think Sophia doesn't even respond better than the AI translator we have today. So, but it has like the motors on her face and also on her body, which actually pretend that she's actually a human being, which is not. So that's something kind of like what we are talking about that is actually not intelligent. It's not intelligence, it's just a computer program. So yeah, I think this topic is so huge that we cannot cover everything on a single panel or a single day. So do you have anything to add?
I talked with Ben Goertzel and Hansen. Also, they basically agree that Hansen actually agreed that you need something quantum in order to have real intelligence. So he created this robot, so he knows.
Do you have anything to add, Ludo?
I just wanted to bring our attention to our nails, our hair, our cells. Millions of cells die in our body every day, but millions are regenerated as well. And this happens kind of automatically. So this is really huge. And when you compare with humanoid robots, they are mimicking our mechanical parts maybe, but we have like a biology or whatever you want to call it, physiology that is happening for us. You don't need to think about it when you think about renewing your visa, for example.
Thank you very much. Thank you everyone for your time and thank you for your sharing. And hope we have learned a lot from today's panel. We will have a series of other panels in the future about AI and other technologies that we want to discuss more deeply into the technology itself. So yeah, thank you everyone for coming. Today's panel is finalized and we should all take a picture together. 谢谢大家今天到来我们的人工智能论坛科技论坛我们大家一起来拍一张合照吧，大家一起上台拍张合照吧。 我们摄影师。摄影师组织一下，看看我们要站在上面还是下面比较好。上面大家都站上来吧，站上来。
下面要站一排，下面站一排，可以站一排。这里能不能再站多一排？放灯也行。
女孩子在哪？
把这个灯
打开，把这个灯打开，过来这边，过来这边，然后这样搬过来。把这个灯打开。裤子还往那侧跑，再往在后面的地方站。你要不要站在前面？
稍等一下，我们看一下灯。
过来这边，站这边就好了。
要不先拍一张吧，先拍，然后再。
你这么过去吧。
我这样往后上面看一下能站两排啊。
啊，你说。
下面的话一排。
上面的要下面这一排要在上面吗？
下面站两排，然后下面站一排吧。
我们
打不了对吧？
我们差不多
先拍吧，
把人都过进来，然后
OK
大家一起拍一张吧，先。
这边往这边来，人过来这边吧。
大家再往中间站点，大家都进来。
这边还有位置。
好，我们差不多，摄影师我那里，大家组织一下。
稍等一下。OK，
稍等一下，田总，我们站。
好，来。
大家笑一下 ，cheese， 3, 2, 1, cheese。大家比个动作吧，大拇指3嘛，要比圆满成功。
好，来，保持跟这里啊。
好，谢谢。我们接下去就是之后的这是自由交流环节，大家希望对哪位嘉宾研究的方向以及他们所做的事情感到兴趣的话呢，大家可以自由交流。